and welcome to Up South, your one-stop destination for all the news from the south of the Vindhyas. I am T.S. Sudhir and I come to you from the Telangana and Andhra Pradesh Legislative Assembly. In fact, today was the first day of the Telangana Assembly when all the new MLAs of the Telangana state entered this house. But first, a piece of breaking news. Telangana Home Minister Naini Narasimha Reddy has said that the floodgates could not have been opened without any kind of hooters or alarms. Remember, this is the top story that we are getting you from Kullu in Himachal Pradesh, where 24 students of the VNR Vignana Jyoti College of Engineering and Technology in Pachupalli in Rangareddy district on the outskirts of Hyderabad, they were actually drowned. They appeared drowned. In fact, the efforts are going on to retrieve their bodies. If I may go across now to Mike China, who joins us from Chandigarh. Manaman, if you could bring us the latest on what exactly is the rescue effort going on there in Kullu.
Well, as of now, the search is on for finding the bodies of these young students who were washed away yesterday when water was released from an upstream idle project. As of now, 5 bodies have been recovered. The rest of the bodies are supposedly deep embedded in silt in the riverbed, and it might take some time for these to be recovered by the divers, or they might come up on their own. So as of now, some parents of the students had reached Kullu earlier in the afternoon. 5 bodies have been identified, and these are now being rushed back to Hyderabad.
Manaman, Manaman, thanks a lot. Stay on with us. We will come back to you in a bit for more details. But essentially, as I was saying, the last 24 hours have been terrible for many families here in the Telangana state, with 24 students fear drowned in the gushing waters of the Beas river.
Rescuers have recovered 5 bodies from the Beas river. In a search for 24 students from Telangana who were washed away in a sudden surge of water released from a dam.
We were in 2 buses.
The students were all from an engineering college in Hyderabad. Army, police and other rescue workers have been seen combing the banks of the river, while others in kayaks were paddling downstream, checking around boulders. Divers were also called in.
I've ordered an inquiry by Divisional Commissioner in this matter. All aspects of the matter will be taken into account. If there is any negligence found on any part, on anybody's part, suitable action will be taken.
A group of nearly 50 engineering students were travelling on buses to the tourist hill station of Manali when they stopped in the Kullu valley. The surge of water occurred when a hydroelectric power project opened its floodgates, sending tons of water downstream. Union Education Minister Smriti Irani reached the spot to oversee rescue operations.
तत्काल हमने हिमाचल प्रदेश सरकार में शिक्षा मंत्री से संपर्क किया। केंद्र की ओर से सभी सपोर्ट, सभी सहायता का आश्वासन भी दिया, लेकिन अभी हमारी चिंता ये है कि जो हमारे सर्वाइवर्स हैं उन्हें जल्द से जल्द उनके घर तक, उनके होम स्टेट तक हम भेजने में अपनी ओर से जितनी सहायता दे सकें वो सहायता देने की हम तैयारी कर रहे हैं।
Around 20 members who belong to the families of students who went on this trip protested at the airport in Hyderabad as Telangana Home Minister left for Himachal Pradesh to supervise relief and rescue measures. Their demand was to have government organize special flights for the family members to head to Himachal Pradesh. With Manaman Singh China, Bureau Report, Headlines Today.
Even as relief efforts are on in Kullu, it has been a very, very distraught time for the parents and the near and dear ones of those who have gone missing. With little information available, the parents are really running from pillar to post. Pratibha Raman reports.
This photograph of Akula Vijetha posing happily during her trip in Himachal Pradesh. Perhaps this is most tragic because she is now no more to relive the memories of what could have otherwise been a lovely trip. As these photographs of young students play out on television screens, they are a reminder of how carelessness snuffed out 24 precious lives. What's worse is that angry parents had to make a spectacle of themselves by staging a dharna at Hyderabad airport to urge the Telangana Home Minister Narasimha Reddy to make arrangements for them to be taken to Kullu in Himachal Pradesh. At the engineering college, the authorities had to be literally forced to take responsibility for the tragedy. Finally, the parents were put on a flight to Chandigarh en route to the scene of the incident.
While the college management claims that they did help the family members by arranging special flights, many of the family members say that there was absolutely no proper information that was provided to them by the government officials as well as the college management. And they had to spend the night endlessly, extremely worried, thinking about the sons and daughters and trying to gather enough information about them.
At this home in Warangal, Viranna, father of Parmeshwar, was worried about the second-year students' whereabouts. The college list had put his name among the missing.
Maybe they are in panic or they are in anguish. Maybe they are right. But whatever information we got from them, we had to see that they are really missing. Because we had the list. So we are talking to the students. We are confirming whether they are really missing. What are their names? What are their phone numbers? So cross-checking each one. See, getting 24 numbers is not a joke because they are already panicked, they are crying. Nobody there, maybe sometimes cell phones are not reaching. So that gave us a lot of time for us to get that one. So once we matched that one, there are police officers, we gave to them, even MLA was here, and it got delayed, little bit delayed in the sense we have to get the right information. See, giving a wrong information, 48 members went there and how many are there, we don't know.
The tragedy is a wake-up call not only for parents who will think twice before sending their children on such trips, but also for the authorities who need to take more responsibility. In Hyderabad, with Pratibha Raman, Bureau Report for Headlines Today.
Joining me now from Hyderabad is my colleague Pratibha Raman, who has been following that story very closely. Also well-known child rights activist Isidore Phillips joins us from Secunderabad. Mr. Phillips, to you first. As someone who works very closely with children and young adults, would you say that this kind of an incident, this kind of a tragedy could have been averted easily if only standard operating procedures were followed by the college authorities?
Yes, of course. I think what is very important also is when we are talking about any children or any youth groups going in, there are certain procedures that everybody needs to put in place. One, adult versus youth ratio. Where are you allowing them to go? Which is the particular place of tourist interest? What is the risks that are involved in this whole excursion? I think that needs to be assessed first before we start going in. We are not trying to say blanket nothing should happen, but procedures that are standard when you take children or young people outside should have been followed, which I think there has been a serious lapse in the college management.
Mr. Phillips, while blaming the college authorities, they definitely should have been more vigilant. Even the local authorities in Himachal Pradesh should ideally take some part of the blame, because Himachal Pradesh is a great place for tourism, Himachal tourism, and the fact that the hydroelectric power plant actually released all that water, surely the local authorities should take part of the blame.
I think one very important thing, Himachal government, what shocks me is you leave water there and there is nobody in the vicinity, there is no signals, nobody to warn people in. I think that what on earth are they trying to think that people are? You don't have raised walls, so people get in and get out. You know, there's the tourist locations. The same person doesn't keep coming to your place every now and then. If they are locals, they know. If they are non-locals, what do? Because it is a tourist location, so you assume a lot of non-locals are there. And since non-locals are visiting, you want tourists to come in, basic practices, healthy practices should have been followed, and I think it's gruesome on the part of the on the part of the local authorities not to have followed the procedures.
Mr. Phillips, thanks a lot for that perspective. Manaman China, if I may come back to you, you heard Mr. Phillips there. Some officials of that hydroelectric power project have been suspended, but surely something like the Himachal tourism also should take part of the blame, because it's a major tourist destination. Obviously, there should have been some kind of safeguards for all these tourists who obviously don't know about the hooters and the alarms.
Absolutely, Sudhir, and this is not the first time that something like this has happened with tourists. though it is on a big magnitude and a scale on which never has a tragedy like this happened, so many youth losing their lives because of negligence. But every year during tourist season, there are cases reported where tourists, because of lack of local knowledge, they venture into the Beas river near Kullu or near Manali, and because the state of the river is very fast, the water flow is very fast, they do not know that on the surface it is calm, but underneath it is very fast. And every year there scores of tourists who are washed away in this same very Beas river. Yet the Himachal Pradesh government has done precious little. It could either have tourist police deployed on these locations, or it could have guides who can tell the outsiders on what to avoid. But all such signs are missing, and this is what has led to this compounded tragedy.
Absolutely. Huge tragedy there, Manumanchina. Pratibha, I have been speaking to a lot of parents who say that they will think twice before actually sending their child to an excursion like this organized by their school or college. Is that the sense that you got when you went to the college today, where many distraught parents had actually assembled?
Well, it was a very sad state of affairs because all of them in an emotional trauma. One should also observe the fact that it is hitting them twice on the head because one, they do not have any kind of information about the whereabouts of the child, whether the child is alive or dead, whether the child is safe or whether the child is still missing, whether the body is being recovered. No such information given to them by the college management as well as the government officials. And on the other hand, the emotional trauma, the loss of their kith and kin. So this was the kind of experience that these families were having there at the college. They had flooded the college right from early this morning, trying to gather as much information. It was only till a little later that the college management jumped to action and tried to help them out by sorting out the flights as well as trying to give them all kinds of information, the whereabouts of their children. I have with me one student, Sudhi, who actually faced a similar situation in Shimla again. And could you actually elaborate on what exactly happened then, what went wrong, and what do you think could be the solution now?
Well, last year it was around the same time, November, that we went to Shimla. It was after our third year that, we planned this industrial trip. And we didn't get any approval from our college, so we all planned it on our own, and then we asked one of the faculty members to accompany us, which they did. And we went there, everything was fine, but suddenly it started snowing and it was 3 feet full of snow. And the bus couldn't move. We had to reach our accommodation. We trekked 5-6 kilometers, and then we finally reached our accommodation. So we were holed up in our hotel for almost 3 days, 3 continuous days, and nowhere to contact our parents. They were worried seeing the visuals on TV, that heavy snow and all that. We didn't know what to do.
So sometimes, Sudhi, these children get really adventurous during such trips, something that they would do with no particular faculty members. In fact, some of them, really 90 of them in this case, and there's only one faculty member to take care of them. So where is the the proportionality in such a case?
Absolutely, the ratio that Isidore Phillips was pointing out. If I may quickly get in, Manumanchina, for people who have been looking at what kind of rescue efforts will continue through the night, will rescue efforts continue through the night, or will they be suspended till tomorrow morning? Manumanchina.
Well, yesterday, Sudhir, they did not even have searchlights. The local police and the first responders who reached the spot, they did not even have a basic equipment like searchlights to look for these boys and girls who had been washed away. And they were making do with torches. It is hoped that today, because the NDRF has reached there and they are professionals who are trained, so there will be better equipment and they will be able to carry on the search for the better part of the night before suspending it for a couple of hours and taking it up again on first light tomorrow morning.
Right. Manumanchina and Pratibha Raman, thanks a lot for all that information and perspective. We'll keep coming back to you as we continue to track this story very, very closely on Headlines Today. Thanks a lot for joining us there on Up South.